Hi, I'm Peter Duckworth, and on my YouTube channel, which you may have seen, I have put up a number of hymns and worship songs, mostly of the traditional variety, which I like to add pianistic touches to make them a bit more interesting. Anyway, I've been asked by one of my subscribers, can you explain something about your technique and how you do this? And I'm going to do that right now. So in this short video, I'm going to show you something about how to orchestrate or ornament your hymns so that they are more interesting to listen to and for people to feel lifted up by. I'm going to have to assume some basic level of piano technique on your part. So if you haven't had piano lessons, maybe you should think about it. But if you have, good, we're on board. And I'm going to assume a level of knowledge of piano playing around about grade 5 or above, if that's okay. How do we flesh out hymns or worship songs to make them a bit more interesting? Let's start with hymns. If you go to a typical hymn book, it's written in 4-part harmony, and this really is about choral singing, because you have soprano, alto, tenor and bass, and together these form the 4 parts. So let me give you an example. I'm going to take To God Be the Glory, and I'm looking at Hymns of Faith, which is one of my sources. And this is what it sounds in 4-part harmony. You see, that would sound great with a choir, but on a keyboard it's a little bit deficient. I'm going to give you 4 tips here that you might find useful. The first tip is to consider the number of fingers you've got on each hand. I have 5 or 4 fingers and a thumb, so that's 10, whereas in the written music there's only 4 parts. So immediately we have the possibility of bringing in more parts. As we don't need a singer to do this, it's quite easy on the keyboard. Let's consider, number 1, the use of octaves. Octaves in the left hand immediately start to enhance the piece. Let me show you what I mean. See, it already gives it a fuller sound. Now the next thing we might want to do is to look at the right hand, and what there is need for is a good strong line for the tune so that people can follow it. Particularly if you're elaborating the piano part, they need to be able to hear the part they've got to sing. So let's do that. What I was doing there was bringing out the top, the treble voice, to make it more song-like and easier to follow. So that's quite an important thing, because the piano line must sing really. To make a really good worship song, you need it to sing. Point 3 is consider how you can put some infill, particularly with the right hand. Are there other things you can do, and other ways of filling in some more voices? Let's try that. What I'm doing there is putting at least 3 parts in the right hand and just giving each chord a bit more fullness so that it sounds musically more interesting. The last tip I want to give you is to add some ornamentation, and this can consist of flourishes, or it can be dotted notes, that kind of thing, just to make the music a bit more exciting. We have that in this hymn because it's when you play it straight, it's, and maybe that's right, maybe that's how it ought to be, but actually just consider this, if this isn't a bit more exciting. So just that little bit of pointing gives a bit more variety and flavour makes it slightly more enjoyable to listen to. So the infill can be with the right hand or the left hand, and sometimes you can pass the parts around. And it's the same in the chorus. You can hear the use of octaves, infill, ornamentation, pointing, that sort of thing. But also, as you get kind of more experienced and you use your imagination, you can add further flourishes, maybe decoration, perhaps echoes in the octave above or down below. There's no limit to really what you can do. Let me just show you how I so. So each time I do this, it's kind of like an echo of the main tune, and it already gives a fuller sound, more interesting sound. And there's no limit, as I said, in theory to what you can do here, although after a while it does begin to get a bit wearing on the listener, so you don't want to be too showy. But just to show you what you can do, for example. Right, now just one don't finally. Try and avoid the use of the suspended fourth chord if you can, because I'm afraid that's everywhere in worship music at the moment. And whilst that's okay for creating a sort of ambience or feel to the music, it's not always appropriate for gutsy traditional hymns. In fact, it hardly ever is appropriate, in fact. Because if I played... some mushy sound, it's not really nice. It's got no dramatic progression or structure, whereas when you have a chord change, a key change, a modulation, that's a great moment in him. It gives a whole dynamic shape to the music and makes it take off. You don't want to miss that. You want to emphasize that, bring it out. So there's lots of points where you can emphasize the tune or the harmony in different ways, and gradually build up a repertoire of things that you can do to make him interesting. So the finished product would be something like, let's just do the chord. Actually, there's something else I was doing there which I haven't told you about, which is adding little kickers in the left hand. As I said, there's endless ways in which you can orchestrate or ornament the music, and so the sky's your limit. Use your imagination, have fun.